It's been amazing watching a big game company like Ubisoft run to the media for defense as they can no longer rely on their own fan base for reassurances of their future prospects. Gamers in the West, gamers in Japan, and now gamers in Europe are starting to turn on Ubisoft, and so they have no choice but to collaborate with news outlet personalities to give them something, anything that they can use against gamers themselves, and that appears to be the case here. I think what people are not understanding quite yet is that Ubisoft is beginning to burn to the ground. You see that they are knee-deep in controversies. Almost every single day, something new pops up. The European Commission may be set to investigate these people. The Japanese people are making petitions, writing letters to their government representatives, and Ubisoft's own investors are coming after them. They're attempting a hostile takeover because the CEO has been exposed for enriching himself, Yves Guillemot, by intentionally tanking the stocks, as AJ Investments claims, and buying the dip at the very bottom in order to amass total control of the company when they have the majority shareholder percentage. I could go on all day about the controversies, ranging from the historical inaccuracies in Assassin's Creed Shadows itself, to the inclusion of an actual historical figure like Yasuke, who was never actually a samurai, or proven to be, even though people make the argument for it constantly, despite the fact that it's been debunked by actual historical documents, as well as Ubisoft making Yasuke a bisexual character. Actually, they're both going to be bisexual characters in this game. They will be able to have relationships with multiple people. This game is in dire straits, and so is the company, and people are beginning to realize it. And not just regular people and gamers like us, but Ubisoft is also beginning to realize it. That's why they apologized to Japan in the first place. But the media is trying to gaslight normal people into believing that none of this is happening, that Japanese people are not upset. It's only people in the West. And not only are they wrong, but YouTube creators like me apparently are wrong as well, as I have a PhD journalist and other people going after me for simply talking about the fact that the Japanese government was taking interest in this at one point. And what's really funny is that one of these people in this story just so happens to be a Sweet Baby Inc. employee, or was at one point, which actually makes a lot of sense as to the absurd defense that these people are giving Ubisoft. So let's check out this story right here. Ubisoft runs to New York Times to attack players in defense of Assassin's Creed Shadows. They say that French video game developer Ubi ran to the New York Times in order to attack its own players in an attempt to salvage its upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows game. In a play straight out of Prime Video's playbook for The Lord of the Rings of Power, as they have done this kind of thing before, not Ubisoft, but Amazon Prime, Ubisoft leveraged Zachary Small and the New York Times, as well as so-called experts, to attack players ahead of the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And they go over how this happened back in 2022, and they're seeing similarities here. So they go on, Ubisoft has done something similar with the New York Times and Small. Like Bresnikan and Robinson, Small wrote, "Some gamers erupted over his appearance, convinced that the franchise, known for its immersive recreations of the past, had gone woke, by including a black character in its depiction of 16th century Japan." Now, of course, they are talking about Yasuke, an actual historical figure who is the subject of debate with this Ubisoft video game, and has been the subject of debate for many years. But it's only now that Ubisoft has decided to use him, and I do believe that we have evidence that Ubisoft has gone woke. In fact, Ubisoft has expressed in the past that they are going woke and that they are embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion for the foreseeable future. Not only that, but they are also engaging in discriminatory hiring practices, dumping funds into discriminatory game development programs for non-binary folk, and they've also been shown to work with the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. herself, Kim Belair. But we also have more evidence to show you of Sweet Baby Inc. employees running defense for these people and also attacking creators like us who simply report on what's been going on with this company. So they go on to say that after attacking gamers, Small then weaves a false narrative that has already been refuted for months by citing historian Yu Hirayama, who is an admitted communist. Now, I'm pretty sure that the company he works for was owned by BlackRock. If we're talking about that same historian, quote unquote, who was arguing with people for days on X about this stuff, Small cited Hirayama's claim that was without question that Yasuke was a samurai. There are very few historical documents about him, he says, but there's no doubt that he was a samurai who served Nobunaga. Now, of course, this guy got ripped apart by other people in Japan who debunked his claims over and over again, and then he got tired of talking about it and disappeared for a while. Now, it says right here that, however, it is highly disputed that he was a samurai, as historian Yuichi Goza, who is a faculty member of the International Research Center for Japanese Studio studios focusing on Japanese medieval history and the author of What is a Samurai speculated that Yasuke was simply Oda Nobunaga's bodyguard and entertainer rather than a samurai. Yes, it has not been proven that he was a samurai. In fact, if you look at the timeline of him being in Japan, there just simply was not enough time for him to be a legitimate samurai. And even if he was given the title of samurai, it was by title alone and not by actual training or philosophy teachings or anything like that. What's worse is that this guy was basically a missionary, and Ubisoft is trying to make this guy a homosexual or a bisexual. They're really messed up with this stuff. This inclusion of Yasuke from the get-go was a huge mistake, and honestly, it feels like an afterthought sometimes, since most of the gameplay that looks solid in this game belongs solely to Naoe, and this guy just seems like he was thrown in there for diversity points, and we may actually have proof that they were using Sweet Baby Inc. as a consult on this game. But what we see here is an attempt by the media to gaslight people into believing that the Japanese people are not upset about this, that Yasuke is not an actual issue, that YouTubers are simply trying to spark a debate where there is none, and that gamers are the people who are to blame for all of this happening, and that Ubisoft is completely innocent. And that is just not true. If it was true, then why would Ubisoft apologize to Japan? It says right here, highlighted in yellow, not only did Small cite the communist Hirayama, but like Vanity Fair with Maldonado, he cited Kazuma Hashimoto, a very interesting name that connects the dots on a lot of this. You guys will actually be shocked at what I have found. Who he describes as a Japanese consultant and translator in the video game industry. Well, he's a lot more than that, which we will find as we read on. Now, it says here that it is patently false and makes absolutely no sense given Small even admits that Ubisoft apologized to Japanese players. Small wrote, after the online blowback, the game's development team attempted to assuage concerns about the game's authenticity, apologizing in a lengthy statement for promotional materials that it said had bothered some Japanese audiences. Well, it's clear to me at this point that they didn't mean their apology, and I had speculated that they were just half-baking this apology and sending it out to people to try and do some damage control, but it fell on deaf ears, and that has been a constant with this company. So now they're running to the media, and they're saying, attack gamers, put them in their place, put these customers who are enriching our CEO in their place right meow. And here's one of the Japanese YouTubers who went viral for criticizing Ubisoft's decisions with Yasuke and the historical inaccuracies that they're shoving into this game based on a complete lack of research. But now we're going to take a little stroll through spicy territory, as I have a post from Packer Girl here. I've not seen a post from her in a minute, but this one caught my eye. She says, now this is an interesting development. Hashimoto's LinkedIn states that they are a Sweet Baby Inc. freelance narrative director involved in an unannounced title by Ubisoft that started in 2020 around the same time as AC Shadows. So Packer Girl found a connection here, one that I find very fascinating. It seems that this person is connected to a lot of this, not only in defending Ubisoft to the death, as Sweet Baby Inc. defenders often do, but it seems that they had a heavy hand in the development of Assassin's Creed Shadows. It says they also stated it was only the West upset about Yasuke. Do you see what the media does? They're gaslighting you into believing that nothing is going on, that it's only the West that are upset about this. Of course, that's absurd. There has been plenty of evidence to prove the opposite. These people are absolutely insane. So let's take a look at this post right here. The consultant introduced in this article, Kazuma Hashimoto, claims that it was people in the West who were upset about seeing Yasuke as a samurai. According to his LinkedIn, he is involved in an unannounced title by Ubisoft. AC Shadows began development in 2020. And this was a quote to an earlier post from Packer Girl saying that VG Japanese consultant translator Kazuma Hashimoto claims Assassin's Creed Shadows has received a mostly positive reception in Japan via New York Times. Of course, the New York Times running defense, right? It was people in the West who were upset. And somebody made a really cool post right here in response saying mostly positive reception in Japan. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. And they show a games list here that shows very popular games, one of which I am enjoying playing, Space Marine 2. And then it shows that Assassin's Creed Shadows right here is number 53 on bestsellers in PlayStation 5 games, and this takes place in Japan. People are pointing out the hypocrisy of Ubisoft, the lies that they keep trying to push onto normal people, which brings us to a not normal individual, Kazuma Hashimoto, the person of the day who is connected to all of these strange happenings. I write a lot, the bio says, scriptwriter, critic, queer, he, him. Polygon, IGN, Silicon Era Games Radar, At Them, Inverse, MMORPG, and more. Now, this person is apparently Japanese, but lives in Los Angeles, California. Now, they believe that gamers are the ones who are lying, and that this person has solid proof that not only is the backlash against Ubisoft non-existent, which, of course, as Park Place says, does not make any sense, as they already apologized to Japan because they got so much blowback from the country. But of course, live in your little fantasy dream world. But they're also saying that all of the people who are ratioing every single Ubisoft video is also not happening, and that all of those people who are commenting on the video and disliking the video are actually people in the West. Of course, you can't prove this, but this is something that they claim because they are the gaslighters, they are the liars, they are the manipulators. So I started to scroll down and I saw this post that defended this, and I'm pretty sure that I reported on this specific post. I think I did. If not, it's completely okay. I'm reporting on it now, but I've regrettably logged back into Twitter to talk about this sentiment from the Japanese community. A lot of complaints are focused around the inappropriate use of specific flags, etc., and the construction of buildings being wrong. RE, architecture, but we've already seen proof of other Japanese people not only forming petitions about Yasuke, but also making YouTube videos about it. People in Japan, and they're all saying, no, these are just people in the West. They're fake. They're bots. They're people from the West pretending to be Japanese, which is a far more absurd explanation than the things that we're saying about it. And this person goes on to say these are very valid criticisms and says the NHK, the collaborative party, are right-wing, which means that they're completely discredited, right? No, that's not what it means. But they say, and some of the loudest voices are Japanese nationalists that are invested in the revision of Article 9, no surprise, and claim this is history revisionism. So this is the media trying to downplay not only what I have reported, but what other people have been saying about Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. They're always trying to downplay what's actually been going on, saying that the NHK is a fascist party in Japan and that they don't actually have any influence in regards to government decisions, as you will see in a post in just a second. Most people legitimately do not give a S, this person says, and are excited about a Japanese Assassin's Creed. Oh, are they now? Well, it certainly is interesting that you say that. Let's look at their LinkedIn really quick because I'm interested in their work history. So Kazuma Hashimoto, critic, games writer, cultural consultant, 148 connections. Now, if you scroll down, you can see that this person is legit and they do have Sweet Baby Inc. work history. This is groundbreaking news right here. Freelance narrative design consultants in Sweet Baby Inc. freelance. So they worked for Sweet Baby Inc. as a freelance narrative design consultant, provides consultation on various AA and AAA titles under Sweet Baby Inc., includes work on unannounced Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Insomniac titles, alongside researching and crafting characters for upcoming titles for both new and existing IPs, assisted in foundational world building and character creation for new IPs. Now, remember that the claim was that this aligns with the beginning development of Assassin's Creed Shadows. So people are trying to make the connection with this. And it goes on to say that they worked collaboratively with teams to create authentic representations of marginalized individuals with constructive criticism, offering suggestions for teams to implement through various brainstorming sessions and sensitivity reading. Helped localize game scripts to not only make sure the original intention of character dialogue stayed intact, but was also grammatically correct in English. So this is it right here. So Kazuma Hashimoto is a Sweet Baby Inc. employee, or was at some point, which is really fascinating to me because this person is now calling out content creators. As you can see here, Kazuma Hashimoto reposted something very fascinating, and I didn't even mean to stumble onto this, but it revealed another rabbit hole to me that has been in the works for a while. This is from Jeffrey J. Hall. Representative Hamada of the NHK party formally asked Japanese government ministries to comment on Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, if you recall, I reported on this a while back. It's my most viewed video, and it's actually gotten a lot of heat. People were trying to push back on that video, saying that I was either lying, making stuff up completely, or that the NHK party was nothing to be worried about, that they don't have any influence, and that the Japanese people are really not upset about any of this. He says that many declined to answer because it doesn't concern them. Internet culture warriors hyped up the NHK party's questions like they were a huge thing, not understanding understanding that Japanese government ministries aren't in the business of censoring. And I was so shocked to see that my video was right here in this image. So Ubisoft is done for. Japan's government escalates investigation as AC Shadows turns Yasuke LGBT. And I had shown proof that they were trying to do this with Yasuke as a historical figure. And I mentioned in the video that this thing was escalating because people in these government agencies were sending letters up to the higher ups to try and escalate the investigation. They were trying to get answers. Now, this person reporting on this story accuses me and other content creators of not informing their audiences that the NHK party is a tiny party with almost zero practical political influence in Japan. But that can't possibly be true because they have a seat on the council of the Diet. So they do have some influence. It may not be the craziest influence in the world, but this is exactly what these people in the media do. They're always going after the gamers. They're always going after content creators for sharing their opinions and reporting on things that are actually happening. They're always trying to undermine, downplay it, and make it seem like it's not that big of a deal. And that's what Kazuma Hashimoto is trying to push. I'm sure that this person has seen my video, and that's probably why he retweeted this post. Now, if you go to the actual page in question, the article that this person is citing, it says that the French game of the Black Samurai Yasuke, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, if it is contrary to public order and morals, respond carefully. Answer to Mr. Satoshi Hamada. And what this person is referring to in that X post is that the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Tech replied, regarding the negative effects of home video games on children in general terms, it is necessary to take a cautious approach when there is a suspicion of content that is offensive to public order and morals. So they're saying, approach this stuff cautiously, take it with a grain of salt, do your research until you come to a point where you can make a deduction and a conclusion. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said we cannot respond because it is a game and not related to diplomacy. Now, does that discredit the request to investigate this stuff? No, of course it doesn't, but because it's not a politics-related issue, even though I kind of think it is, because it's pushing a political ideology with the apparent help of Sweet Baby Inc., as it's been recently revealed, they say that they cannot pursue this situation. That is where we stand with the Japanese government investigating this stuff. So they do show concern, but they can't do anything about it because it's just a video game, right? So the media is saying that we're wrong for even reporting on this, and we're wrong for saying that the NHK was making a big deal about it because they're apparently a super right-wing party. They're fascist, so of course they have to be discredited and ignored, and so do content creators. But my point in that video that got 145,000 views was that Japanese people were upset about this. Even though the media was still trying to gaslight people, even at that time, back in July, I said that the Japanese people were upset. That was the point. The fact that it reached the ears of the government at all was proof that the Japanese people were spreading this word about this game around, to the point that the government picked up on this and one of their council seats decided to pursue the controversy. But even if you were to ignore that fact, you would still have the petition from a bunch of Japanese people in the thousands trying to get the game canceled. You had a plethora of Japanese YouTubers making content about it, showing people that they really are upset about this game's existence and the things that Ubisoft has done in it. You have the apology from Ubisoft themselves, which debunks any of these nonsensical claims. On top of that, you have the YouTube videos that prove that Japan and Europe and the West are upset with Ubisoft. Now, just so you can see who Jeffrey J. Hall is, the person who said that content creators like me are just wrong and we're misinforming our viewers, is a PhD lecturer at KUIS, Kanda University. Specialty is Japan's politics, nationalist activism, history, disputes, pop culture, views my own. And this person said in this previous post that the Education Ministry's statement that careful handling is required if they are suspicious of content that violates public order and morals should not be misunderstood as something big. He's saying that it's small and that we're just making a big deal out of nothing. Censorship takes place when a game contains nudity or extreme violence. So he is saying that the government is saying, no bueno, we're not interested in this. He says, Foreign Ministry says it's not our concern, but that's not really what it said at all. It says approach with caution, and then the ministry said that we can't deal with it. Even if there is something, we can't deal with it because it's not a politics-related issue. But he says, it's not our concern, we don't care. Education Ministry says canned answers saying games shouldn't violate public order and morals. So if anything, you're misleading people because because you're trying to downplay something that is actually happening in order to support a false narrative, just like the media is trying to push a false narrative that the Japanese people are not upset about this, that they don't care about this, and that they're actually excited. But there is so much proof to the contrary that it's insane to believe that a person with a PhD and that other news outlets trying to push this stuff would actually dare to have this much nerve in pushing such a huge false narrative. But just how false is that narrative? Let's take a look at some of Ubisoft's videos. This is the Western Ubisoft account. As they say, it's just people in the West upset about this, right? So you've got a horrible ratio on this video. 18,000 to 78,000. This is from 3 days ago. Hasn't even hit 1 million views. Let's take a look at another one. 296,000 likes, over 500,000 dislikes from 4 months ago. Let's look at another one. 57,000 to 97,000. Let's look at another one. 34,000 to 38,000. 30,000 to 72,000. 11,000 to 22,000. And this is from IGN themselves. This isn't even from the Ubisoft account, and it still got ratioed 4.5 thousand to 11,000. This was the Assassin's Creed Shadows official world trailer from only 3 days ago, and it didn't even get 200,000 views because people in the West and people in Japan are speaking out against Ubisoft. They don't care about this stuff, and it says waiting for IGN to complain for almost the whole review of the game and then give it a 7 out of 10. This person said, that horse animation killed me. Seems like someone had to rush the trailer and bring it out quickly. But you know what? It's not just the Ubisoft from the West that is getting ratioed into oblivion. Let's take a look at Ubisoft Japan. Oh, it's going to be such a fun time watching the media try to defend this one. Let's look at their most recent video, for example, Ubisoft Japan right here. You almost can't even see the white bar of likes. It says 117 likes to 1.8 thousand. This video only got 14,000 views, and it's from 9 days ago, and it has a lot to do with Assassin's Creed Shadows. People just disliked it into oblivion. Now tell me, how are you going to prove that all of these dislikes and all of these negative comments are just bots from the West? That they're just Americans pretending to be Japanese. They're like, oh, well, some of these comments are crudely written. These people are nuts. This person says the response to the Sekigahara gun core has been widely spread overseas. I don't understand why you think the problem will be solved by opening up about the Thievery Act first. I'm sure there are also pure Ubi fans out there, but I think it can't be helped that people around you will look at you coldly if you say something like, even though he's a thief, he has some good points, so you're criticizing him too much. Ubi admits to plagiarism and shows no remorse at all, which is reflected in their actions. Now, this is one of the people that Kazuma Hashimoto says are not actually Japanese, because Japanese people are not upset about this. That's okay. Let's look at another video. Almost can't see the white bar at all. 160 to 2,000 dislikes, 17,000 views. They don't care about that video. Let's look at another one. You almost can't see the bar. This is a worse ratio by comparison than that in the West. You can't even see the like bar. 51,000 views from 3 weeks ago, 6,500 dislikes. People despise Assassin's Creed Shadows. No matter what the media tries to tell you, they're lying to you. They're always lying to you. Why now do you think that they're going to be honest? When it's been clear for months now that Ubisoft is going down the drain financially, they're going down the drain in terms of reputation as well, and their own people are trying to rip them apart from the inside and sell the company off in a hostile takeover, all thanks to a selfish, greedy CEO. Please stop with the nonsense. Let's take a look at one final video so that we can bring this point home. 919 to 23,000. Do people care about this game? No, they don't. And the people that do actually care enough to talk about it or comment on these videos are slamming the game for its historical inaccuracies, the controversies around Yasuke, the discriminatory hiring practices, the predatory monetary practices that they're engaging in, that the European Commission is set to investigate upon if the request goes through and is accepted by them, etc., etc., etc. There is just far too much at this point for anyone to speak out against it. It's impossible to deny that the reception for this game is overwhelmingly negative in every corner of the internet. So what are these people's excuses? Well, their excuse is that we are just embellishing things, that it's not really that big of a deal, and that Ubisoft is going to be completely fine. But every single time I look, I see further evidence of the opposite, which brings me to this final image right here. Ubisoft Entertainment, their stocks have gone down even further over the weekend. They have dropped almost 4%. And to be honest with you, it looks like they're flatlining. Trade is just not happening. Now, if the CEO really is buying up shares, it's possible that he has bots in place, or at least his representatives have bots in place to buy a bunch of shares up when the price reaches a certain value. It's not out of the question. It's something that I saw very prominent in the meme coin space. Back in 2021, when I was investing in a bunch of meme coins, people that I knew personally were coming up with crazy types of bots that would buy either shares or coins at a certain value, and they wouldn't even have to pay attention to it. They could just have it automatically buy a share when these people are sleeping or out at lunch or whatever. There are many different ways to be able to do this in order to amass control of Ubisoft at this point. That's why their own investors, AJ Investments, and other people who are growing in support of this hostile takeover are trying to do this. But just expect the media to melt down even further over this debacle as time goes on. They hate content creators like us, and they hate gamers like you who vote with your wallets. But I know that when the time comes and when November 15th hits, a bunch of people are going to vote with their wallets, and they're going to make a significant impact. Will this game fail financially? Who knows? There is a possibility that a bunch of people out there are going to buy this game and that the sales will be phenomenal, but I seriously doubt that it's going to save Ubisoft's share value. I don't think that that's going to happen. They couldn't do anything when Star Wars Outlaws came out. Their share has continued to drop over time, even after that brand new Star Wars IP game's release. So keep your ear to the ground, your eyes open, stay vigilant, and vote with your wallet. And that is all I've got for you guys in this video today. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you haven't had the chance to like it and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. And hey, if you're feeling ultra spicy, consider subscribing to my channel so that you're always up to date on what kind of thing I've got going on. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Later. Meow meow.